Streaming. Hi, good morning. This is writing part two, and we are going to read a passage where I have deliberately taken off the concluding section so that you can write it. And so we've talked about concluding sentences and passages, what they should say, what should be included, and basically it is a summarization of the passage. Hey, hey. So we're going to take a look at an article and then going to have you do the summary. So that's where we are. Give me one sec, and I will bring this to you. All right, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, so this article is about students pushing for more inclusive history education. And so in the picture, we have Ebele Azikwe, who is 12 years old, with her mother, Rume Joy Azikwe Oyeyeme, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey on March 24th. She testified in October 20 at a state assembly hearing in support of legislation requiring New Jersey school district to add diversity to curriculum. And this was an article that was actually put out by the Associated Press, and they are a general news agency. And then different news entities can pick up stories of interest. So it was probably a local story first, and then it got into the national wire. And here's this 12-year old. So let's read a little bit about her. She's in seventh grade this year. Last year in February, it was time to learn about Black history again. She knew exactly what she'd be studying since the same subjects came up every year: Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., and slavery. It was the same lesson material as the year before, she said, and the year before that. And then in May of 2020, George Floyd, an unarmed Black man, was killed by a white police officer. In response, Ebele wrote to the administration at her school in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, to ask for more than just the same lessons. We learned about slavery, but did we go into the roots of slavery? Ebele, 12 years old, said. You learned about how they had to sail across, but did you learn about how they felt being tied down on those boats? It's pretty mature insight. Her letter went from the principal to the superintendent and began to make headlines. It led to schools pledging to include fuller Black history courses. In the months after Floyd's killing, and educators say they have heard a demand from students for fuller Black history lessons. Several states have passed new laws calling for more inclusive instruction. So then New Jersey schools require diversity and inclusion. According to social justice scholar Maurice Hall, many students still have a lack of understanding when it comes to people whose race or cultural background is different from their own. Growing up with a majority point of view can mean thinking that the way a particular culture sees the world is in fact the right way, Hall said. In December, Connecticut passed a law requiring high schools to offer courses on Black and Latino studies. In March, New Jersey became the first state to pass a law requiring school districts to include instruction on diversity and inclusion. A focus on diversity would mean further instruction on the diverse or varied groups that make up the world. Such instruction seeks to combat prejudice and reveal injustice. It promotes inclusion, the idea that all people, despite their differences, deserve to be respected and given the same chances. Outrage over Floyd's death spilled over into schools, said Michael Connor, a school superintendent in Middletown, Connecticut. Students held rallies and helped put race at the top of educators' minds. So, what will diversity instruction look like? Like 12-year-old Ebele pointed out, Connor said the lessons on Black American history had long focused on the same handful of famous figures. The only time I learned about Black history in school was during the month of February, Connor said. I learned about my culture at the dining room table with my mother and grandfather, with my mother and grandmother. So districts adding diversity instruction now have to determine what that is going to look like. And in New Jersey, they are required to come up with sample activities and resources for districts. Some schools there and elsewhere are adding new books to the list of books students must read or examining them in new ways. In Middletown, the district has added new books, like Jason Reynolds' The Boy in the Black Suit. The novel follows a Black teenager as he deals with grief. Republican groups express concern. The New Jersey law requires schools to create a learning environment that is welcome for all students. It also calls on schools to examine unconscious bias. Unconscious bias is the attitudes we have about groups of people that we're not even aware we have. These attitudes are based on stereotypes and unknowingly affect a person's actions and decisions. The focus on diversity has concerns among some Republican groups. They claim the government is forcing students to adopt beliefs. The criticism suggests that some states may be unwilling to make the kinds of changes that take place in New Jersey and elsewhere. So, already in Iowa, lawmakers have passed a bill to ban diversity training. In Idaho, lawmakers voted against supporting diversity programs in universities. And now, you are going to conclude the passage based on the information that you've been given. Look at the title, look at where we would find the main idea in a passage, look at the titles of the subheadings, and then I want you to come up with a concluding statement. I'm not going to give one, I'm not going to give any hints. You may need to reread the passage and come up with one of your own. So, what would you do in this situation, Lauren, when you have a passage like that and you would have to come up with a concluding passage or sentence?
I would go through it and obviously read it again, and I would, if it was on paper, I would underline or highlight or just remember where the main ideas are, or if anything stands out to me, mark it up, so that at the end when you're wrapping it all up, you can take the main idea from each section and make sure it's included in the conclusion.
That's a very good strategy. So I think that Lauren has given you some very good tips there. We've also talked about it in past lessons. You can go back in classroom. And I'd like for everyone to give this a try. If it's difficult, let me know. But this is your homework. You're going to, again, see things like this on the task test. And Thursday, we'll discuss what some of those concluding passages might look like. So that's all we have for now. Science is at 11:30. Hope to see you again. Everyone have a wonderful day and take care. Lauren, if I don't see you at 11:30, you have a great day.
Thank you, Melody.
It's our last day before that stuff. I can't say even the word, but that stuff falls.
I know.
So maybe get out and enjoy the day.
Hopefully.
Yeah, take care.